Hi, my name is Jason, and I am the agency owner at Burbank Insurance Services. Today, I want to go over a couple common questions people ask when they're searching for life insurance. I had these very same questions, and I wish someone had explained these to me. So, hopefully, at the end of this video, I will have given you enough information and perspective that you can make an educated decision on what type of life insurance product to purchase. So let's get started. Let's go with the first question here. This is the most common one, which is, do I need term life insurance or do I need whole life insurance? Now, for the vast majority of people, the answer is going to be term life insurance. The reason being, term life insurance is what we commonly think of when we think of insurance. If something bad happens to me, then my family is going to get a death benefit that will help them out financially. Whereas with whole life insurance, you have to think of that as an investment product. So with whole life insurance, you're talking about cash value, what's my rate of return. And unless you have your IRAs, your government funded retirement accounts, unless all of that is maxed out and you have a savings account with at least 6 months of expenses, I don't think for most people whole life insurance is going to be the right product, because the main reason being it's not very liquid. So let's say you put in 5 grand or 3 grand for the year, that money is not going to be available for you. And if you try to get out early, then there's actually penalties and you're not going to have accrued much cash value. So it's not really a good place to park your money if you have no other savings vehicles, like a savings account where if you have an emergency and you need money, you can just pull it right out. So what happens is when people buy whole life insurance and they don't have the rainy day fund, like I mentioned, then they will cancel that whole life insurance policy and basically lose any money that they've put in so far, especially if it's within the first few years. So that's why if you're looking for insurance, term life insurance is probably going to be the best one, especially, for example, when I became a new father and I wanted to get insurance so that my newborn child is protected and my spouse is protected. I purchased term life insurance, and with term life insurance, it's known as pure insurance. So you don't have to worry about any other rate of returns, or you're not looking at those death benefits as something that is money that is supposed to belong to you. So that's where a lot of that confusion occurs with life insurance. Is you might have a friend or a family member or an agent that's trying to sell whole life insurance to you, but again, unless your financial situation is one that I described, it's not going to be the best product to purchase. So with term life insurance, the three main parameters that I want you to think about, with the first one being the most important, is budget. And the second thing is the actual death benefit that you want. And the third is going to be the term length. So 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. So let's go over those three parameters real quick. So that way you have the tools necessary to make that decision. So the first one is your budget. So that's the most important, because if you are going to be looking at your monthly life insurance bill and always think, like, should I cancel this? It's getting kind of hard this month, and you're starting to look at that as a significant expense, that means you bought too much insurance. So make sure you have that number. What that number is going to be different for everybody. $30, $50, $75. In terms of how valuable that is for your peace of mind and your family's peace of mind, you have to make that adjustment and you have to make that judgment call. And from there, you can adjust your death benefit. So 100,000, 200, 300,000. Most people don't even really need $1 million, although a lot of agents will try to sell the 1 million policy, but that's out of budget for most people. And with your death benefits, the way I like to look at it is you're purchasing time for your family. So even if you bought a small $100,000 policy, if you think about what your monthly expenses are, that 100,000, and that can be calculated in terms of time. So for example, let's say you have $10,000 monthly expense, you have rent, you have food, you have classes for your kids, everything like that. the $100,000 policy will buy you 10 months of leeway for your family, of time. If something happened to you, you're the main breadwinner. So 100,000, if you look at it that way, maybe it doesn't feel like it's enough time. But let's say your monthly expenses are $5,000. In that case, you get 20 months. You double up those time. So in that way, even $100,000 policy is nothing to scoff at. And if that's what your budget calls for, I would just start with that amount. The thing with term life insurance is you can always purchase more if your financial situation improves in the future. You can pick up a little bit more. Now with the term 10, 20, and 30, think of those years as you're locking in your monthly rate, but you're not tied to keeping your term life insurance for the full amount of time. So let's say you buy 30 years because you want to be extra conservative and you want to make sure that your kids are going to be fully independent by the time your life insurance runs out. But your kid, after 20 years, becomes fully independent. They have a good job, a good career, they have a car. Well, that term life insurance is not so important anymore, and you can actually cancel it anytime with no penalties. So in that way, you're not locked into 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. You just use it until you don't need it anymore. And that's the beauty of term life insurance is each month you're paying for that month's peace of mind. When that month is over, that service is done, and then you pay for the next month. So you don't ever want to collect on that death benefit because that means you're sadly passed away. And statistically speaking, the insurance companies, they don't actually write term life insurance to people that they don't think will outlive their policy. So if you are able to get approved for a 30-year policy, then rest assured that statistically speaking, you're supposed to outlive your 30-year term life insurance. And that's the only reason why the insurance wrote that policy for you in the first place. So if you think of term life insurance in that way, again, you don't have to go for that 1 million or that 500,000. Some people again will say, hey, what's your house mortgage? Well, my mortgage is $500,000. Okay, and then they start stacking up all these other loans and student loans, and now you're at $1 million. Again, you don't have to think like it's a jackpot. If you pass away, your family gets a jackpot, everything's paid out. Like, don't think of it that way. Think of it as you're buying time. So the more time you can afford, the better, of course. So if you are to perceive it in that way, then again, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 policies, all of those, you'll start to see it in a different way, that you're just buying extra time. And again, the term is going to be just, you're locking in your monthly rate. So if your kid is just born, maybe go for that 30 year. If 30 year is too long, 25, 20. So you can kind of play with those numbers, but based on your budget, I would be very conservative. So when you're buying life insurance, don't buy too much. Be conservative. Buying just enough, or maybe even a little bit less, is okay. That's totally fine. Like you've done a great job, and trust me, even with a $200,000 policy, you'll get peace of mind knowing that you purchased enough time for your family. Okay, so the next question that people ask is, should I buy online? Should I buy from an agent? Which insurance company is best? These are all questions that I asked when I first looked for life insurance. And I wasn't a insurance agency owner yet, and I basically was just researching, and I was on Google reading up as many articles as possible. And what I found is, again, if you're buying term life insurance, that is a commoditized product at this point, and all the insurance companies are competing for the best rates. So with term life insurance, it really doesn't matter where you purchase it. I partnered with Ethos Life Insurance because they're fully online. They have a questionnaire that you go through. They basically will get your personal information to run a background check, and then they have a medical questionnaire to make sure you don't get flagged for any medical conditions that will automatically disqualify you. And then they're going to be also looking at what type of product to recommend for you. And then at the very end, what they do is they give you a way to adjust your budget. So you can, there's a little sliders that you can adjust the term life insurance and the, as well as um, the term life, the term years. You can adjust all of those and set it to your budget. So for term, I think online is a good option. If you don't get approved, then you can go and find an agent that will help you. The online platform, they don't have a medical test for up to 1 million. Whereas if you go with the traditional companies and the agencies and the agents, they will most likely have a medical exam. So if you're in great shape, I think that might be a good way to go, so you can see what kind of discounts they'll give you. If your health is just average like mine, then online actually might save you money in the long run. So like I went through both methods, and when I went through the medical testing, they said my blood pressure is a little bit high, so they ended up giving me a little bit of a higher rate. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and click on get my price on my website, and it's going to take you to the landing page at Ethos, where you can go ahead and, if you're ready, you can go ahead and get my rates. I do have some contact information if you wanted to speak with me here. I forgot to mention that on my website, I do have a chat agent here. You can speak with a chat agent to get recommendations also. So if you have, if you want to share your budget and kind of your life situation and get an idea before you start the process, you can go here. I also have a page that's going to tell you if this is the right product for you, the term versus the whole life. So take a look at that. And you can also check out the online versus agent page. This one, I actually created this. Sorry, here, let me go from the top. So if you just go down here, I talk about the benefits and the pros and cons and who the online platform is going to be good for. And then if you go all the way down, I recreated kind of the slider estimation that I was mentioning that Ethos has. So you can kind of play around with this one and get an idea of where you might fall. And then when you click on it, get the exact quote, it will again take you to the Ethos. And this is where this will be your real application. So like I mentioned before, they're going to be asking you some general questions to know what kind of product you want to buy. Okay, so, and then right here, you'll see this is the 4-step process. They want to know your coverage needs, confirm your eligibility. They're going to do a little medical questionnaire on you, and then you'll get your rate where you can adjust, again, those parameters to get to your budget. And then whenever you're ready, you can pay with your credit card and you'll have life insurance. You have 30 days if for whatever reason you don't want your policy, you can cancel, get your full refund. And again, with term life insurance, you can cancel anytime without any penalties. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, you know where to get my contact information, and definitely explore my site and the AI chat agent. So that way you can use the chat agent to answer any jargon or questions that comes up during your application process. So it would be a good idea to have that open next to your application as well. All right, good luck with everything. Thank you so much for sticking around with my video, and hopefully that was helpful. Thank you. See ya.